Hotepu gatekeepers. Let's now continue our study of the Papyrus of Ani, and we're going to go to plate 1, line 1b, from this flowering reed to the seated figure. Recalling our last video went from plate 1, line 1a, from this star to this glyph of the vault of heaven. So from here, the flowering reed to this seated man figure, we see below the translation by Sir Wallace Budge being, "Behold, the Osiris Ani, the scribe of the holy offerings of all the gods." Now that is his best attempt, his layman's attempt, as a non-initiate, a non-priest, at trying to interpret a very profound, sacred, and poetic text from the scriptures of ancient Kemet. Let's now have you initiated into how I would teach this text to one of my golden beetle shamans in our training. We start here with the word an, which does indeed mean behold, which you see here, behold. The next word, this eye, this throne, and this seated figure with the upraised knee, is the name of a god called Osar. Osar. And I wish to start by making a statement about many of the modern day black Kemetic spiritual temples, societies, teachers, and organizations that really have not understood the meaning of the god Osar. Their interpretations are truly rather off-skew, and I wish to correct them now from the understanding of the golden beetle. First of all, the god Osar, whose name you see here with these three glyphs, is shown almost always as a mummiform deity, a male god wrapped as a mummy, wearing a white crown very often. So when you think of a mummy, what do you think of? You think of ancestors, the dead. So Osar is the god of the ancestors. He is the divine principle that controls, governs, and directs the evolution of all ancestors. So since we know him now as the god of the ancestors, i.e. the dead, we should assume that his name, the composites of his name, should give us more clues leading in that direction. So here we have this eye, throne, and this figure. Here we have the eye. The eye here is telling you the ancestors are watching you. The ancestors are conscious of you, that they are actually conscious, and that the ancestors are overseeing you. They're your overseers in the sense of a director. Let's say the overseer of a construction site, the director, the guide. Because this eye is literally seeing over the rest of the figures. It is an overseer. And this eye is keeping an eye on you, keeping an eye on your contribution, your relationship to your ancestors. And as Osar was shown as a deity, often in white mummiform wrappings, white meaning pure, where you can see any stains quickly. So he was the god of the pure DNA strands of your lineage. He was the clean DNA, not the drunk, alcoholic, hot-headed, conniving, traitorous ancestors, but the clean lineage of your bloodline, the traits that are virtuous, that are divine, that are pure. So the ancestors are keeping an eye on you and keeping an eye and overseeing if you're going to perpetuate their higher clean traits or not. More precisely, however, this eye is a word in Egyptian. It's the word ar or ari. And the word ari means to create, to make, to do. It means to form, to mold, to make an image, to create a shape. The word ar also means to own, that which belongs to someone, that which belongs to you. And from the context of those words, we see here the word ari, this I, corresponds as a code for DNA. Because the DNA within you keeps an eye on your development. It is the overseer of how you're going to evolve and develop physically. And that DNA has an intelligence, a watchfulness, an awareness. So this DNA is watching over, overseeing, and keeping an eye on your physical development. Then we have this glyph here, which is the throne, pronounced as or ast. And that has two basic meanings for our purposes here. The word as is one of the names of the god Tehuti, the god of wisdom, divination, and oracles. The other sound ast, which means throne, also corresponds to the Queen Mother, the Mother Principle. You would expect, if you're talking about DNA, some reference to the womb. And we should also expect, as you will see in a few moments, a reference to the phallus, which has the DNA. The womb, the egg, and the sperm make the DNA of the child. So, on the side of the meaning as Tehuti, the god of divination, this throne corresponds to Tehuti as the seat of your destiny, the throne of your destiny, what we call your seed of life reading, your life purpose reading, that you must get from an high oracle. We have the oracle of Ra. There are other high oracles that also speak to your destiny, particularly the oracle of the Yoruba called the Ifa system. And we use the word Udu, which means your destiny reading. The Yoruba say Odu. In their language, O means you and Du means push or you exert, meaning your DNA will push you in a certain direction. Your Odu, which is your spiritual DNA, this throne is the throne of your spiritual DNA, the seat of the DNA of your destiny. The I is your physical DNA, and the throne is the seat of your spiritual DNA, your life's purpose. And when you get an Udu, it comes down as 4 strokes, either a single stroke or double stroke, like yin and yang. You get 4 of them doubled for a total of 8. But this 4-fold structure is the same as a DNA structure. DNA has 4 basic components: a C, an A, a T, and a G. Those are the 4 components on a DNA strand, which combine in infinite sequences to make you, or make a tree, or make an elephant, or whatever needs to be made. So you have physical DNA, you have your spiritual DNA, and they are being developed in the womb, the ast, the mother principle, making that DNA grow, commanding it. And then you have this figure here of this seated deity, who on one side looks passive and restful, yet he has his upraised knee, which is in a very clear phallic implication. So here we have the other strain of your DNA from your father. The throne was from the mother, this phallic side is from the father. Now, this glyph is very brilliant in terms of describing DNA's behavior. On one hand, DNA is passive. On the other hand, it is assertive, meaning nature and nurture. Your DNA is responsive to adaptation. It will respond to environmental influences, to cultural influences, educational influences, and emotional behaviors. So it is malleable. That's what the passive side of this form is telling you. This phallic upraised knee is saying that at the same time the DNA is going to be phallic, going to be very masculine, pushy, bossy, and commanding. It will tell you the color of your eyes, and that's it. It will tell you your height. It will tell you your bone structure. It will tell you the kind of diseases you'll have a tendency to have. So this is showing that we understood both the nature of physical DNA and of spiritual DNA, how they work in the womb, and how DNA is both a function of nature and nurture. Not versus, but and. So we're talking of Osar here as the god of genetics, but communing with your genetics through your ancestors. Going to your ancestors in a state of meditational trance, this throne, and seeing them, this eye, and talking to them and asking them the parts of your DNA that are malleable and amenable to being bent and altered and influenced, please do so, and make those traits be the positive, pure, clean traits of you, my ancestors. And Osar was a god of eternal life, of reincarnation. Is it not true that your DNA, in a certain way, is immortal? That the DNA strands that you have come from ancient forebearers, from the beginning of time. They're still here. They're iterating through generations in similar but slightly different manners. So this is an amazingly profound analysis from the ancient Africans of genetics, both of a spiritual and a worldly physical level. The next glyph is the glyph for Sesh, meaning a scribe, which you see here, scribe. This next upright glyph is Neter, meaning holy or supreme being. These three glyphs here are Hatep, meaning offerings or peace. And you see here, scribe of the holy offerings here, scribe of the holy offerings. This letter, wavy line, is letter N or Un, meaning of, which you see here, of. Then you have the word for deity tripled, meaning deities or gods. Gods, Nebu. This basket means Neb or all, followed by 3 tick marks, making it plural in an emphasized sense. So the gods all, or the gods on 3 planes, on all 3 planes. These 3 planes link to the planes of your astrology chart: the equator plane, the ecliptic plane, and the horizon plane. You need those 3 calculations to make a chart. And in case you weren't sure, we're discussing the gods of the 3 planes of your chart. They put the lines here again, saying the equator, the equatorial gods line, the gods on the line of the ecliptic, the gods on the line of the equator. And that you must understand all of the gods of those planes. Here we learned that the star chart must be touched mathematically and scientifically. To make your chart mathematically through astronomy, you have to have the mathematical calculations of these 3 planes. This first plane of the equator gives you your latitude. The middle plane of the ecliptic gives you your signs, where they are, the planets that are in those signs, and this glyph gives you the plane of the horizon, which gives you your houses of your zodiac. The horizon, the Akhet we saw here, horizon, is showing up again here. And then we have here his name, Ani, who has mastered the 3 planes because his name has all 3 planes in it. In some it's saying that, behold the scribe Ani, who has mastered the gods of the planes of his chart and spoke with the gods of those planes and with his ancestors to ensure that they bring out the highest, purest expression from the ancestors into his chart in this life. An astounding, profound text of genetics, of biology, and of astrology. Dwawend Hotepu.